Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hannah Story with Hitachi Solutions. Thank you for joining us today. Before we get started, I just want to mention a couple of housekeeping items. If everyone on the attendee line can keep their phones muted so we can eliminate any background noise. And if you have questions during the presentation, please submit them using the questions window or the chat box in GoToWebinar, and we will answer those at the end if time permits. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Phil and we'll get started.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Phil Dudovich. I appreciate you all taking the time to join us today to discuss 3 tools that top banks are using to increase customer engagement. So we're going to cover a multitude of topics here today. Things like customer engagement, Hitachi Solutions Engage for banking solution. We also have an Engage for credit union solution. Today we'll be focused a little bit more on the banking side. We're also going to talk a little bit about analytics and being able to understand our customer data, both from within Dynamics 365, as well as potentially third-party or even some public data that's available out there. And finally, we're going to cover a little piece on social engagement as we start to look at how the landscape has adjusted and continues to change around us and the culture of how folks interact. We have to start to engage with people a little differently out in the open, in an open forum. So we're going to look at some tools that are available at our fingertips to help us improve those engagements and really understand those engagements a little bit better. So without any further ado, let's get started kicking off here. So wanted to start off with a little overview about who we are, who Hitachi Solutions is. I know some folks on the line are familiar with us. Some folks may be a little less familiar, but I did want to give you a brief introduction as to who we are. So Hitachi Solutions is a #1 global Microsoft Dynamics practice. We focus exclusively on Microsoft technologies, and that includes customer engagement, or formerly CRM, that includes AX, and that includes BAC and analytics. We're really going to be focusing today on the customer engagement as well as the analytics piece of that puzzle. We have 300 plus team members. This really is specifically around the customer engagement focused area, but we have 300 plus team members on staff working on Microsoft projects and working on financial services projects. We have over 1,500 successful projects that we have delivered, and we're able to utilize a lot of the experience, the best practices, and the industry insight that goes into each and one of those successful projects into developing our future projects. And finally, we like to look at ourselves and our relationship with both our customers and with Microsoft as one smart partnership. We're here to provide the industry insights and the technological experience to help your projects succeed, but ultimately we want to be viewed as a business partner, and we want to be a partner that helps you achieve your business goals in the long run. Okay. So following that up, just a little bit about us as far as our Microsoft partnership. You can see we have a number of Partner of the Year awards from Microsoft. So 30 Partner of the Year winners, 19 Customer Excellence winners, 18 Inner Circle achievements, and 20 President's Club achievements. What I really like to spend time on here is really looking at those 19-time Microsoft Customer Excellence Awards. And that really speaks to not the job that we do as Hitachi Solutions, but the work that we're able to accomplish with our customers. We receive these awards because our customers achieve ultimately their goals and we're able to implement excellent products. And that's what we are always trying to do. So finally, just one more piece. I know you all have probably heard of Hitachi. Maybe you've got a Hitachi power drill or an air conditioning unit or something like that. And we are part of that one Hitachi, but we are a segment of that one Hitachi. So Hitachi is the 38th largest company in the world. We operate independently underneath Hitachi. We have 37 partnerships external partnerships. So those may be with ISVs, with folks like Microsoft, et cetera, that help us really achieve the technology goals that we look to achieve. We have more than 400 customer references, 10 plus vertical solutions. Like I said, today we're going to be focusing on banking and credit unions, over 1,000 Dynamics consultants, and 1,700 Microsoft business consultants. So that's a little bit about who we are as Hitachi Solutions. And now I want to take a little bit of a shift and start to look at who you are. Who are we speaking to today? And these are really the folks out there in the world that are working in credit unions and banks in an increasingly challenging environment, especially when it comes to things like regulatory compliance, when it comes to things like customer expectations. These things are consistently evolving and becoming a little more challenging. So hopefully we'll address some of those challenges as we go through this presentation. So starting off, we can really start to look at the industry pressures in banking that are really forcing change today. So on the left-hand side, we really have those disruptive forces, things like technology changes, things like regulatory changes that really require banks, credit unions, financial services institutions in general to reevaluate potentially the way they do business and the technology that they utilize to do business. On the right-hand side, we can see those evolving customer needs, right? We talked a little bit up front about the changing customer demographics, how things like social media have really started to shape the presence of our brand recognition out there on the open market, and really how our brand is being represented and perceived can be seen a lot of times through things like social media and social engagement. Okay. A couple of key stats here that I think are really interesting when we start to look at technology solutions in this space. And you can see this top circle right here, 15% of customers and more than 50% of Gen Y customers are likely to leave their bank in the next 6 months. The top reason for that are ease of use and service. So what can we do as a bank, as a credit union, or as a technology partner to help to ease those pains among your members or among your customers to reduce that total turnover among our clients? And the second point down below, 79% of bankers agree that artificial intelligence will revolutionize the way they gain information from and interact with customers. So we're going to spend a little bit of time looking at some of the platform pieces that we can put in place to help really leverage the future of technology and artificial intelligence, specifically in the financial services space. So when we look at all those pressures, right, we've got those industry pressures from the regulatory perspective, from a technology perspective, and then we've got all of those customer pressures that are coming on, right, the changing demographics, the increasingly sophisticated customer bases. We really have a balancing act that we need to maintain. Okay, and we're going to take a look at how we can start to implement and start to balance those things out to provide us the flexibility to achieve all of the goals that we have from a regulatory as well as from a customer satisfaction perspective, but also scale with us and enable any future developments to be accounted for. Okay. So last piece here, and this just speaks a little bit more to some of that more granular information about customers and where they see and where they need our industry to change, right? We talked a little bit about the 15% of customers and 50% of Gen Y customers are likely to leave their bank in 6 months. 80% of bank customers prioritize online and mobile functionality. 80% of customers would switch to an insurer that provided personalized service. And that's going to flow through, I think, not only to the insurance side, but also to the banking side, right? The new norm is for extremely high levels of customer service and customer engagement, and we have some tools that can help you achieve that. Okay. And finally, traditional banking customers seek more personal or tailored solutions, and they're happy to consider alternatives to traditional banks. We see that a lot of time in those folks from Silicon Valley who are making a push maybe a little bit into the banking space, right? They've been able to leverage some of the technology out there and really provide some interesting options for clients and provide competition in the space that we haven't really seen in the past. Okay. So let's start talking about some solutions here. We looked at some of the challenges, some of the problems. How do we as Hitachi Solutions and you as a credit union or a bank start to overcome some of these obstacles and put the right pieces in place so that we can get to where we need to be? Okay. First thing we're going to look at is engage for banking. This is going to be a little bit about mobility. It's going to be a little bit about working through things like Outlook, and it's going to be a little bit about customer engagement. The core theme, though, is that no matter where you are, no matter what role you have in an organization, we have the tools to provide you all of the information that you need to get work done wherever you are, whether you're out in the field, whether you're working on Outlook, or whether you're working directly in Dynamics. We can go ahead and provide you all the information you need without adding the extra workloads, to go in and quote do CRM at the end of the day, right? These should be things that are natural, that work the way that you work, and that's what we're going to look at. Okay. So number one was, as we start to look through here, I think hopefully you're going to see we're going to be able to provide you a 360-degree view of your customers, business, and households. And again, that's across all platforms, be it mobile, be it working on your computer, be it through things like Outlook or Office integration. We're going to improve productivity with familiar tools and role-based dashboards. So we don't want to create extra work. We want to be able to provide the tools to the end users that allow them to work the way that they want to work while providing them the incentives that they need by utilizing the new tools that we put in front of them. And finally, work together effectively wherever and whenever you need to, right? So that covers those things like Outlook, the mobility solution, whether we're working on a tablet or an iPhone or the laptop, we can get that key work done. Okay. So last piece here before we jump in and start looking at a little bit of product is an overview of our core banking solution. And this is very similar to our credit union solution, but you can see we have three core pillars of the solution. And today we're going to look at some pieces that are really common through all of them, specifically in the customer 360. But as part of the Engage for Banking solution, there is a retail banking portion that includes customer and referral management, which we're going to look at, loan origination and servicing, next best product, next best action. We offer commercial banking solution, which includes relationship management and modeling, deal process management. So how do we get a deal through the sales process, segmentation and coverage, and then wealth management. How do we engage with our clients, manage our clients, create service level engagements, and finally householding, which we're really going to take a look at today. Okay, on the right hand side, we have our industry partners that we frequently utilize specifically in this space. And across the bottom, you can see the tools ultimately that we leverage to put our solutions into work. So all of this sits upon the Microsoft cloud, and then there's a layer, really you can think of it as a toolbox of Hitachi Essentials tools that we bring to any implementation that help us to really streamline the implementation and ensure product effectiveness. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump into some product demonstration here. And I'm going to start, like probably most of you all start your days by taking a look at my mobile device. So bear with me for just a second while I share my screen. All right, so here I am sharing my iPhone screen. We're going to take a look at the Dynamics 365 app for the iPhone. This app is also available specifically for the iPad or Android tablet or Android phones. It's going to be the same experience across all devices. The only difference is if we are utilizing the tablet, we're going to have a little more real estate to work with. So the layout's going to be a little bit different. So here I'm just going to jump into my productivity or my work folder here on my iPad, and I'm going to open up my Dynamics application. And the first thing you'll see when you open up your app is that you're going to be provided with some proactive notifications directly from the system. Now, this is really system intelligence surfacing information that the system thinks I'm going to need to know. So these aren't notifications or tasks or reminders that I need to go in and set up. These are things that the system recognizes as potentially being important for me to consider completing for today. So you can see at the top, we have an opportunity that's closing soon. So since I have a close date of January 23rd, the system's saying, hey, we're probably going to want to go ahead and take a look at this today. Maybe you have some work you need to do. We can scroll down a little bit. We can see we've got some tasks, some meetings, and this is really how I think most folks start their day off. They wake up before my feet even hit the floor in the morning. I'm grabbing my iPhone and I'm checking to see what it is that I need to do, and then I can start to do some research and plan out my day. So here, let's go in, and I'm just going to click on this meeting at 3 o'clock with Hitachi. We're going to click on it and open it up. I'm going to open the appointment, and we can actually start to drill down directly into my Dynamics 365 data from my mobile device. So you can see I've got my appointment information, I've got my required attendees, I've got the opportunity that this is specifically in regards to. So I can jump in and open up the opportunity and say, okay, I've got this meeting coming up. What am I trying to accomplish? Where is this opportunity in the sales pipeline, and how can I move it forward? So at the top of the screen, you can see we have our sales pipeline stages represented through these drops. We've got qualify, develop, and propose. I can go ahead and move this opportunity through the pipeline as I continue to work on it. So if I want to move it to the propose phase, I can go ahead, I can mark all these items complete, save it, and this is going to move up to the next stage of my pipeline. As I scroll down, I can start to get some more information about this opportunity. So we've got some fund dates, estimated assets, customer details, contacts that are important in this opportunity. I've got some key dates, and I've got industry details, product details. We can show as much or as little information as we want to see. And finally, I've got my activity timeline. So this is going to show me all the most recent interactions with this specific opportunity. So not only things that I've done, but things that folks from other members of my team may have done as well. So right here, I can go ahead if I want to, I can open a filter, and I can start to filter my specific activities to understand what's overdue, what's active, what do I need to work on, what's new that somebody else has done, to really give me the insight that I need to make sure that we're all as a team operating on the same wavelength. Okay. And once I finish up with my meeting with Hitachi here, I can go ahead and just quickly enter a note. And I'm just going to click on the enter a note. I'm just going to write meet here. And I can go ahead and just voice some meeting notes into my cell phone. The meeting went well. The customer wants to proceed. Once that's done, I can just close it out, save it, and that note will be saved across Dynamics 365, and anybody in my organization is going to have access to that, right? So again, it's all about being able to stay active on the go, stay connected to all the information that I need, and make sure my team has all the information they need at any given time. All right, so now maybe I've done some work, I've prepared for my meetings for the day, I can go ahead and I want to start planning on some more strategic things. I just hit my home button here, and I can see my dashboard. This is really a sales pipeline, sort of an opportunity view. This might be something a branch manager would be real interested in, because we're breaking down not only the sales pipeline, but we've got estimated revenue by line of business, by estimated close date, and we've got estimated revenue by owner. Now, all of these dashboards are interactive. So if I'm out on the go and I want to see, hey, what are all of Phil's opportunities? I can just click on the chart and you'll see it's going to filter down that total number of open opportunities. So now let's say maybe I wanted to see my opportunities by line of business. I can just click again. We'll get another filter. And now I'm down to 102 opportunities. I can just click that, open it up, and review all of those opportunities on the go. So because we're always connected to Dynamics 365, we always have the most up-to-date view of our data wherever we are. Okay. So typically, once I'm done, I'm caught up for the day. Maybe I've mapped out where I need to go, who I need to speak with. The next step is, or when I get to the office, usually I'm thinking about opening up email and starting to get some work done there. Usually have some emails to catch up on. Some people have reached out to me, and I need to start getting some work done there. Okay, so here I'm opening up Outlook. You can see I've got a new meeting, or a new email from Joel. I can click on that, and because I'm integrated with Dynamics 365, I can go ahead and click the Dynamics button. And what the system's going to do is it's actually going to search for the email address. And you can see we've got some demo data mix up in here, but the system's going to search for the email address and find a contact that belongs to that email address. So as soon as I hit track, the system's going to show me all of the most important information about the contact in question, about who that email came from. So here you can see I've got some contact information about Mike. I've got the last time I met with him, who he works for, if he has any active loans, any recent branch interactions. These may be manually entered into Dynamics. They may be things that we integrate from a core banking system, but we can provide visibility into that as needed. We're going to have any active referrals, open opportunities. We're going to have investment accounts, visibility into that. All of these are available to us. And of course, we can tone these down or open these up based on security privileges to make sure only the right folks see the information that they need to see. So once we've found out a little bit about Joel or Mike here, I can go ahead and respond to them, and I can go ahead and track this email in Dynamics 365. And not only can I track it against my contact, but I can track it against an opportunity if I want to as well. So now anytime I look at that opportunity in Dynamics or on my mobile app or in Outlook, I'm going to see this email tracked. Okay, so I'm just going to track it in regards to this open opportunity. Just picked one here, and now that email will show up everywhere. Okay. So once I'm done with my email and I've responded, maybe I've set up some appointments and meetings, by the way, work just the same way. I can go ahead, track those in Dynamics 365. I can set them regarding certain contacts, companies, opportunities, accounts, right? So maybe we're tracking an investment account, or we want to talk about an investment account, or having a quarterly portfolio review, something like that. We can set all of those regarding. But the next thing I'm probably going to do, or potentially going to do, is jump into Dynamics 365. So here I just pulled up. When I log in, I'm going to be able to view some core dashboards. This is that same dashboard I looked at in my mobile device. You can see all the same information. I can interact with it just like I could on my phone or my tablet. So I can drill down into certain segments of the pie. All my charts are going to refresh. My lists are going to refresh based on all of the selections that I make. So once I find the information that I need or the opportunities that I'm looking for, I could go ahead and start getting some work done. Now in this case, let's say I wanted to actually go ahead and start doing some research or start reviewing some customer or member details. I can jump in and pull up a contact form in Dynamics 365. So I could drill down to him directly through my dashboards, or I can search for him. And ultimately, I'm going to arrive at his Customer 360 page. Now, a couple of things I like to point out here is, first and foremost, we like to present the most important and mission critical information for the organization front and center. So we've developed what we call effective tiles that allow us to view information from related entities within Dynamics. So we can see, just by clicking on loans, we can see all loans that Joel currently has with us. We can see all cases that have been opened up on behalf of Joel, and we can see all current or closed opportunities with Joel. So this really helps us break down those silos between the lines of business. So anybody who needs to view Joel's contact information will see every way that we're currently engaging and interacting with Joel. Okay, next we can see the relationship assistant. This is what we looked at the mobile device. So we're going to get those proactive alerts provided to us by the system that gave us some recommended action as to things that we should do or need to do today. And as I continue to scroll, you can see we've got our activity timeline. We looked at that on the mobile device. We've got that assistant view to provide us some information. We've got posts. Posts are ultimately going to be some system updates. You can sort of think of this as a Facebook timeline that's internal to our system to keep us up to date on this client. Okay. Well, of course, we capture all of the, we've also got activity notes. So let's say we meet with a client, we want to add a quick note, we can add a note and we can tag what that meeting was about. So a lot of times maybe we have a meeting, somebody that we don't expect shows up, we want to add them as a participant at that meeting without updating the Outlook invite. We can go ahead and do that just by quickly creating an activity note in Dynamics. This is available from the phone as well. I'm jumping back to Joel's page here as this loads up, and you can see When we break it down, we're not going to go into detail on all of these pieces here, but some of the key pieces of information, the key things that we like to show in that contact form, really that authenticate. How do we identify a user if they call in? The customer 360, alerts and interactions. How are we engaging, potentially integrated with our core banking system? Next best product, personal details. So some of those personal demographic information and details that we're going to look at a little more deeply in our analytics portion. Some decision support. So maybe we're pulling in credit information and we want to be able to store some of that for some decision support, and needs profiling as we start to develop this relationship with our client or our member. What are their needs? What can we do to help them achieve their goals and really think of us in the best possible light? All right, now the final piece here is householding. This is a real common request that we get anytime we speak to a bank or to a credit union. It's great that we can track all of this information in regards to a specific contact, but sometimes we need to go a step further and really start to understand the household and how a specific individual is represented in a household. So here I just clicked on the Joel Lindstrom household, and you can see on the right-hand side, we have a graphical representation of this household. Now, all of these pieces are put into place just by adding the user and giving them a role. So we created a household. We added Joel as head of household. We added Stacy as a spouse. And just by entering that Stacy is Joel's spouse, the system is going to automatically show us how they're related in this household. Now from here, we have a number of children. You can see the role of child represented here. And one of the children is actually married as well. So we can really build out and understand that full customer tree. So this is really going to help us understand our wallet share and how to grow that potential wallet share among our current clients or members. And it's also going to help us with things like proactive marketing, right? So if we know that Joel is a really good customer and Owen and Veronica are his children, maybe they're getting ready to head out to college, we want to start targeting them with a new checking, savings, credit card, something like that. We're storing all that information in Dynamics, and we can leverage that for our marketing efforts. Okay. All right, so that's really what I wanted to show here, specifically around the customer 360, around the customer engagement piece. And now I want to transition just a little bit and start to look at our, start to look at how we can start to engage with our clients through social media. Oops. All right, so social media. We talked up front a little bit about the changing demographic and the changing ways that people are interacting with not only themselves and each other, but with other institutions. And I think that this is an example of something that actually holds true to me, because I went through a very similar process to this. I had moved from Denver to the Boston area, and I was looking for a mortgage, and I didn't have any contacts, right? So what did I do? I went out and I asked Facebook. I asked all the wonderful people out there in social media, hey, who has a good mortgage person out there? So this really starts to show a change in mentality in the way that people are obtaining information and the way that they're engaging with each other and with organizations, right? My first instinct was not to pick up the phone and call the bank. My first instinct was to ask Facebook if anybody knows anybody. And we're going to come back here to Angie in a little while after we look at some insights here. But I just wanted to sort of tee this off. And this is an actual Facebook post that I pulled off. But she says, hey, does anyone have a trustworthy mortgage person I can talk to? I'm looking to refinance a couple of loans. I've spoken to a few folks, and I'm really seeing a lack of customer service. We're hoping to find somebody that we can build a long-term relationship with, and somebody who's trustworthy and focused on customer service and not just making money. And I think that this is just a brilliant post, because it really encapsulates all those things that are important to us when we start to think about how we're understanding how we're perceived in social media and how we're engaging with social media. So we'll come back to Angie in just a couple minutes here. So the next piece I wanted to take a look at was social engagement. Okay, so this is a tool that is a part of the Microsoft suite, and it's included with Microsoft Dynamics 365. What Microsoft social engagement does is it allows us to set up search terms and really monitor how those terms are being perceived across multiple social media channels. So those may be things like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit. There's a number of sources out there. But if we want to start to understand how we're being perceived, this is a great place to start. So right off the bat, I've set up some search terms out here, and right off the bat, we can see that a lot of those social media interactions are being judged through some system intelligence as being either positive or negative. So this can help us start to understand our brand awareness and our brand perception out there, but it can also help us start to set terms about, hey, I want to understand how specific products are being perceived, or about how other institutions are being perceived, right? Potentially we can find some opportunities out there as well, okay? Now, all of these charts are interactive, so we can drill down through them. So if I only want to see my positive posts out there, I can click on the green and my visualization is going to update. I can see some positive phrases out there and all the most common phrases, total volume over time, where they're coming from. I'm going to go ahead and clear out these filters here. We can also see the overall sentiment, right? And we can start to drill down. So now we're looking at sentiment over the course of time. We can see individual interactions. So we can see these Twitter posts. If we wanted to look strictly at negative posts, so let's jump back to our overview page and say, hey, I'm really interested in our negative posts. I want to go ahead and see those tweets or whatever is out there. I can go ahead and open those out. So right here, we've got a post of twice been directed towards life insurance during our mortgage meeting. First time overlapped with bad mental health period, but denied insurance. Second time, so on and so forth. Now, if this were to enter our, maybe we had some search terms about our name, right? Maybe we had some search terms about our products and we wanted to go ahead and reach out to this individual. We can respond directly to them if we want to. So we can reply to them as a tweet. We can retweet if this is a positive thing and we want to share it. We can, of course, like it. And to take it a step further, we can actually sync this with Dynamics 365. So here I'm going to open my link and we could create a new case or a lead in the system, right? So maybe somebody's unhappy, they had a bad interaction with us. We want to reach out to them proactively, say, hey, we're sorry to hear about that. Let's go ahead and see how we can take care of you. Or maybe they say, hey, I'm looking for a mortgage out there, and we can create a new lead directly from that tweet, Facebook post, Instagram post, etc. Okay, so Jason's going to take you a little further into what we can do along the lines of social analytics and really gaining some more insights about that. But I really think that this is a valuable tool in starting to understand how our brand is being perceived in the open market and on social media. So in closing, I do just want to share sort of a closing thought. Oh, I'm going to switch this around again. I apologize. Closing thought about our friend Angie. So she had asked about a trustworthy mortgage person and said that she has had a lot of bad interactions out there, and she's seen some bad customer service. So this is actually a post I followed for a little while just because I was curious. And over the course of time, and it happened very quickly, you can see folks started to respond to this specific Facebook quote or post. So almost immediately, she was given some contact information on a potential referral. Shortly thereafter, another came in. Another person reached out and said, hey, people don't want to explain anything but get annoyed when you ask questions. So now we have, another issue out there, more referrals. We had somebody who's following this post. This is potentially a new lead as well, right? So this could potentially generate a second lead. And you can see we continue to generate referrals after referral after referral from this one post. Over the course of 39 minutes, ultimately, Angie was presented with 7 referrals and 2 potential leads started to follow this post. And after 4 hours, there were 27 referrals and 4 leads. So I think that this really points out how critical it is that we start to understand how we can leverage social media as a tool to increase our brand awareness and to engage with our potential clients. Okay. So thank you very much. I'm going to hand it off to Jason now to dig a little bit deeper on social analytics.
Thanks, Phil. So let me know, Phil, once you make me presenter.
Okay, you should be presenter.
Okay. So I believe my screen's being shared. So Phil kind of walked you through the whole banking solution and also the social engagement side of it. What we plan on doing in this next session is kind of talking about the analytics and taking it further in terms of not just the social engagement part, but also kind of adding additional cognitive science and machine learning to it. Before I can actually get into that, I just kind of wanted to introduce you to the whole analytics solution that's available. So in terms of your reporting, here's where you have your core financial reporting, which could be your profit and loss statements, all regulatory reports. You have your operational reports, which is where you're taking this financial reporting and adding machine learning to it and enhancing it in terms of recommendations. And then you have the intelligent analytics. This is where we take financial reporting along with any machine learning from an operational standpoint, and then we add data to it which is out of your control. A good example is Facebook, or it could also be what is based on the stock prices. So that's something which you have no control upon. Kind of just want to talk about the high level in terms of how this data flows back and forth. So here's where you have your Power BI, which is really the visualization tool, but there's a lot more going on in the background. You have your database where you have all of your financial, inventory, and sales data all in structured format. You have your machine learning, which is part of Microsoft's Azure cloud, where you can actually go ahead and do recommendations based on forecasting or what's the next best product or what you would like to offer to your customers. And then this is where you have your cognitive science, which is where you're getting social media data and you're doing analysis in terms of text analysis or sentiment analysis. And we'll actually have a look at a couple of these report dashboards that I have set up. So where we are actually passing all of that social media data and coming back with metrics which make sense to you and that will help improve your business. So there's also the ability where you can include data from other sources. So it doesn't have to be just the dynamics. It could be other sources in terms of SQL, or it could also be Excel data that you can get into the system. In terms of intelligent analytics, these are the kind of questions you could actually program your reports to do in terms of like predict a number based on the products that you expect to sell next month, or what is the outcome based on churn. Or you can also group different customers based on customer profiles. So like it could be in their revenue range, or it could be based on geographical locations. And then you can also detect anomalies based on all of this data that you have put together in terms of fraud data, or it could be other data that you want to identify as well. So just to kind of give you a high-level 50,000 foot view of what the analytics is. So here's where you have your data creation. So this is where you have your ERP or your CRM system, your data preparation. So this is where you're kind of doing your whole data warehousing, your analysis, and then your visualization tool, which most likely would be Power BI or any other visualization tool available. Kind of just want to drill down a little more detail into some of these areas. So your ERP, CRM, MDM solution, all of this information is coming into a data lake, and that's where you can bring in information like IoT. Like a good example is if a customer walks into the store, you can track that, or it could be a social media data. And here's where you're basically doing analytics, machine learning, and then providing this report to the customer. So I'm actually going to get into an example of one of a dashboard that we have. So just following Phil in terms of the whole social media and the social engagement, this is an example of a dashboard that we have. So what the cognitive science allows you to do is not just basically define your key phrases or your hashtags, but it can actually take those different social media feeds and pass through it and then provide you with sentiment analysis, and also provide you with a sentiment score. And you can define the score. Like in this case, I've defined the score between 0.5 and minus 0.5. And it's basically on the 0 being neutral and anything above and below being positive or negative. And here's where I can kind of see a high-level overview of what are my positive sentiment scores I've received on the website or on Facebook. In terms of neutral, I can also drill down and I can select just my positive, and next thing it's going to just show me the reviews that, or the sentiments that apply to all the positive out here. I can also see in terms of the number of posts that were done, replies in terms of how many replies we have done and addressed those customer concerns, any unique visitors, and then the different kind of social media likes. So in this case, it's Facebook. So I have my thumbs up, my heart sign, and then the different new emojis that they've introduced. I can also track a listing of all my key phrases out here. So it seems like in this case, for the Bank of Hawaii is the leading key phrase, but I can also see other phrases like Aloha Friday or any hashtags that were added as part of Facebook or Instagram or any social media feeds. Out here is where I can also see a couple of listings of all of my social media posts out here. I can see it's also giving me whether it's a positive, very negative. I can see the posts out here. In this case, I see a negative, but I know I can address this in terms of why no drive-through. So I can very easily click on this post and it'll automatically take me to the post on Facebook where I can actually reply to this customer. And this is the same thing which can also be tracked using social engagement, where it can be a case in CRM that they need to address this particular post on Facebook. So just an example, and this is an example of intelligent reporting where we're actually bringing in social media data which is out of your control, passing it based on various algorithms to provide a sentiment score, and then doing analysis based on that. I also had another example of a customer, a dashboard example out here. So if I just pull this up, what this is really is, it's all about taking your existing data that you have in the system, massaging it in terms of machine learning, providing algorithms and recommendations. And Phil, feel free to help me out in this deck as well. But here's where I can actually go ahead and segregate my different customers in different groups. And these groups could be revenue based, so you can define your groups as well. So if you notice out here, I can see my complete customer concentration in the SoCal region, as well as in terms of income concentration. It seems like the Beverly Hills area has the highest income. But if you notice out here, it seems like I don't have a lot of presence in terms of branches in the Beverly Hills area. So that is a clear indication that I could actually use this analytic data and actually go ahead and improve my business. It's also kind of showing me the number of products by income group in terms of average income based on different groups. I can also see my average loan size, my average age distribution across all customers. And if you notice, all of this is something I can drill down and get more detail. So I can see at the age of 28, there are 24 different members. And then also it shows me, go ahead, Phil.
Yep. Sorry about that. Just wanted to jump in real quick and point out one other thing about those two maps that we're looking at here. And number one, that map on the left-hand side, that's really showing us, like Jason said, that demographic information that we're capturing and that we looked at in Dynamics 365 potentially. Now that map on the right-hand side is showing us census data. So we can start to really understand across data sources how we could identify potential opportunities for new business. So when Jason said we have a high income distribution in a specific area, we're able to actually pull in that insight from third-party systems or data sources to visualize that in conjunction with our Dynamics data.
And then I have another dashboard, which is more like product profiles by customers. So here where it's showing me a listing of all my customer groups and also a balance between for each group. So I can actually drill down into group 5 and I can see a balance in terms of like loan type, whether it seems like most of these are home equity loans. There are a couple of vehicle loans as well as unsecured loans. It's also showing me the loan balance based on each loan type as well as the interest. So if you notice, even though my unsecured loans are really small, it shows that I'm making a lot more money in terms of the interest side of it. And there's also additional more detailed data where I can see the actual numbers and in terms of interest, in terms of zip code, location, all of that data is available out here. Phil, did you want to add anything to this one?
No, that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that the key point here to bring home is ultimately, being able to view not only our products, like Jason said up there, we have that little small segment in that middle chart, that middle donut chart, but really we're obtaining a lot of revenue from that specific segment. So yeah, maybe it's fairly obvious that certain products are going to bring us more revenue over time, but this really lets us start to analyze that and view that on a different level and really see how valuable those products are to us, and to see through that segmentation, group 1 through 5 over there, where we have some opportunity to market those new products.
And then finally, also wanted to show you this dashboard, which is more of the product recommendation. So now that you have all of this data, you have your census data, which you're pulling in terms of income groups, you have existing current data. This is where the system, from an analytics standpoint, is going to recommend you to sell to your customers more easily. So like a good example, I can actually drill down into a particular group. And for that particular group, I can actually see in terms of like what is the most number of loans. So it seems for this group, home equity loans are pretty big out here. But it's also going to show me like in terms of each customer, it's going to show me the customers where if they don't have a loan income, a home equity loan, it seems like for that group, it doesn't make sense. So it kind of gives you a tool to kind of suggest customers that they can actually purchase a home equity on their existing home. So it's kind of helping your sales people sell to customers as well. And that's where I can drill down for each and every group, and I can see all of that information as well.
Yep. And here you can see it's actually highlighting the specific accounts or the specific customers or members who do not have a specific loan type. So if you would expect a certain demographic or a certain member profile to have loan X, Y, and Z, or to have product X, Y, and Z, you can drill down to see specifically who among that demographic group does not have that product. So not only, again, can we market to them, but we can help to understand how we can better service them to meet their needs.
Yep. So that was it from the analytics standpoint. So Phil, I'll pass it over to you if you have any slides.
Yep, that's really it for me. Just to close it out, I do appreciate again everybody taking the time to join us here today. Hope you saw some valuable pieces out there. I'll reach out to Hannah to ask if we had any questions come in through the chat line at this time.
Yep. Thanks so much, Phil and Jason, to you both. We haven't had any questions come in yet. We will send out a copy of today's recording to everyone who was on the line. So if you have any questions that come up after the fact, or you want to share them with your colleagues, you can reply directly to those emails and someone will be in touch with you. So thanks so much, everyone, for your time, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.